Ooh,
All right.
let's get it.
I'm gonna post the messages I've just had with the numpty we talked to earlier, and we're gonna get it going. So hopefully he jumps in here in a second. Just letting
Sure.
you know. Yeah, it won't take long. I promise. Someone try and hat trick this guy like Wayne Gretzky. Gonna be under 10 minutes. 3 concessions. Get it going, dude.
Well, the worship of the reptile is pretty interesting, especially when you look at it from those aerial views of like the Vatican. You really do see like, or even within the inside of the Vatican, there's some very interesting looking reptilian art that's going on that.
Miggy,
Yeah,
he said
no doubt, no
blocked.
doubt.
Said he's
He
blocked.
blocked you. He's blocked from here, or
Flatten destruction. I'm
he can't
blocked
enter the
from
arena.
entering
Oh.
the room. I'll tell him I'm fixing it.
Yeah, 1 second. I
We're
think he
not
was
missing that much without him, but okay.
Yeah, he's probably in cog this. Hang on 1 second.
Yeah, I said we'll give him 10 minutes. I don't need much longer.
Max.
Oh, poor Nate. Poor Nate. He certainly overestimated a lot. I'll play my little chill music while I break this bullshit down.
In here. Anybody in here speak Russian?
Don Stravania, bitch.
Vlad does, but I don't know where. Vlad, are you there?
AFK. I know Justin does too.
Miggy, we get him unblocked.
Yeah, he's able to
awesome.
come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we got a Russian dude in the live stream. His English is so. It's not horrible. He says he's got a Discord with like 2,000 Russians.
So let's make this clear. I am reviewing a debate that I had.
It'd be really
Nathan
good to get
Thompson.
Vlad in
their
on
24/7 Flat Earth Arena,
well-versed in
and
Russian,
these
so.
guys
Miggy,
are preparing the room
I
for
challenge
me.
you to one-on-one debate.
And here's the challenge:
does the Earth rotate? Do you accept or decline?
I was going to challenge you to a one-on-one debate. Is there a dome?
All right, so I guess since he spoke first, I would have to honor his first.
That's fine.
So, would you want to debate him on the topic that he brought up? Flatten?
I said sure. That means yes.
Okay.
Great,
all right, hang on 1 second, Nathan. Let me clear the room. All right, so we're gonna get into a 1v1 debate between Nathan Thompson and Flatten Destruction. If everybody can put themselves on mute, please do not open up your mics and join in the discussion or debate that we're gonna have. It is a 1v1 between Nathan and Flatten, so everybody put yourself on mute. I'm gonna moderate this debate, so go ahead, Nathan, and open up with the topic, and then we'll get Flatten to go ahead and respond.
Flatten, you're familiar with how the globe Earth asserts we spin over 1,000 miles an hour at the equator, and that velocity decreases as you move towards the North Pole?
I'm sorry, you were breaking up. Repeat.
If I'm roboting, let me know. I'll move out and move back in. But what I was saying is the globe Earth asserts we move 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. You familiar with this?
What I'm familiar with is that there's a tangential velocity of about, 1 radian every 15 minutes, or 1 degree every 15 minutes.
So
the linear velocity,
velocity,
1,000.
So velocity would assert that we're moving, right?
There's linear velocity and there's radial velocity, and they're not exactly the same.
Is the Earth spinning around an axis or not? Yes.
The Earth is rotating. It's not spinning. It's rotating around the axis. There's a difference.
So it doesn't spin around an axis. It rotates around an axis.
Yes.
And there is a difference?
Yes. The difference is in, speed. We normally classify things that spin to be faster than things that are rotating. and something that is making a rotation of one 24-hour period is certainly not classified as spinning in any other examples I've ever heard of.
So the Earth around the equator is rotating around the axis of the globe, right?
The Earth is the globe, and it is rotating around its own axis at about once every 24 hours.
Great. So the circumference of the Earth is approximately 24,000 miles. So that would mean that we rotate approximately 1,000 degrees and 1,000 miles an hour, right?
I'm going to say no, you can't rotate per hour. You can only move linearly per hour. You can tangentially turn per radian, but you don't rotate
Okay,
per
so
hour.
how fast
You don't rotate per like miles per hour. There's no
how
such thing as rotate
fast
per
does
miles
the
per hour.
Earth move tangentially per hour?
1 degree every 15 miles, or 1 radian, I believe every 5 or 6 minutes. I can't remember what
You
the exact calculations are.
you said you believe this. Can you prove
Everything that I
it?
tell you is going to be a belief or something that I'm strongly convinced of.
Sounds like cult rhetoric. Okay, so what scientific evidence do you have the Earth rotates?
Okay, so there is a long list, so get ready.
Just can we do it one by one, please? I don't.
Well, here's the problem with the one by one. In isolation, without considering the others, an argument could be made of an alternative theory.
No, are you
Unfortunately for that,
familiar with what gaslighting is?
this is not one of those examples.
Okay, well, when you're gaslighting, you're just rapid fire Gatling gunning fallacy or scientifically illiterate proposition after scientifically illiterate proposition. So, why I request that we go through these one by one is start with your best evidence the Earth rotates, and we can work from there. Okay, what's your best evidence the Earth
Yeah,
rotates?
I'm gonna. I don't know if I should object at this point. You've made a
Yeah. Well,
position.
I
I'm
don't
gonna
know if
object.
you should
Objection.
either. What's your objection?
Objection.
Do you have a
Okay,
good
so
one?
now there's an objection on the table. Flatten, what's their objection?
The objection is he has presumed that the information that I will provide will be scientifically illiterate without determining the value of the combined information. So there's a long list, and they all work in tandem. And if there
Okay.
was some, right? So
Yeah, I get what you're saying. So you're saying that basically the information that you're going to provide has to work together. Otherwise, you can't break it up and use one at a time because it's not going to sound coherent as far as like how you're going to propose it. Is that what you're saying?
no, not at all, not at all. No, no, no. What I'm saying is that if you isolate each one while ignoring the others, you could make a case that there's an alternative explanation. But that's not the basis. That's not the sole basis
Okay.
of right. So
All right. So how long do you need to actually state what you're going to say? Just to give us a
I could say 45 seconds. There is one of
yeah,
the
yeah.
there is one condition, however. I cannot be expected to personally provide the information myself to verify any of this because we're on a computer, and it's not going to be a
Go
reasonable
ahead.
request.
Okay,
State
so
them
what,
all. State
yeah,
them all. I
what
got a pen, paper ready. Go ahead, state them all. Just go ahead. Take as much time as you need.
No, I
Proof
won't take too
the
long.
Earth rotates, and
Okay.
then I'll take as long as I need to debunk all of your claims. Go ahead. I got a pen and paper ready.
That's fine. So the sun sets and rises. The sun, when it sets and rises, it has a diminished brightness, um, and that brightness diminishes greatly as it approaches the horizon. However, the size of the disk does not change until it touches the horizon, in which case the shape of the sun disk does not change as it goes under the horizon. Therefore, it is clear that the sun is, from our point of view, moving under the horizon, but the sun is not diminishing in size all of a sudden just as it reaches the horizon, if that makes sense. The second thing is that the stars are rotating at about 15 degrees per hour. The Earth has been cited to rotate by gyroscopes, laser gyroscopes at 15 degrees per hour. Shadows that have been measured in comparison to one location to the other are offset by about 1 degree every 70 miles, which is about 15 degrees every I guess what 1,500 miles or something. I forget what the exact number is, but it corresponds to about a 15 degrees per hour because we rotate once. I'm sorry, we rotate once every 24 hours, and so there's a division of about 24 equal parts, and those equal parts are equivalent to one 15-degree shift in the shadows from one extreme to the other until you get to the Terminator, in which case you can't see the shadows, and then you have to do that. So the next thing is that you have the moon putting an eclipse, eclipsing. I'm sorry, when the sun passes over, but it's only at certain times. Whereas over a flat Earth, the moon and the sun have enough of a uh, closeness to each other that the shadow of the moon should land somewhere on the flat Earth at least once a day or once a revolution, you know. And then finally, there's more, but I'll just stop here. And then finally, what you have is you have a decrease in atmospheric pressure as you increase your altitude, and that's it.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you to give him some time to rebut all that, Latin.
Take
So
time.
just hold tight.
Excellent. Thanks so much for giving me some time. You had 5 points. I'm going to go over them real quick. Sunset, sunrises. Second point you brought up with stars are rotating, which isn't the Earth. 3, shadows measured. 4, the moon eclipse. And 5 was the gradient pressure of the Earth. Problem with your first assertion that sunsets and sunrises prove we live on a globe. You said the size doesn't change. Well, if you can direct your attention to 24/7 Discord chat, I've personally recorded the moon shrinking into a dot above the horizon. So when you assert that it doesn't change size, it does. And when you assert that it goes under the horizon, it doesn't. So second point was stars are rotating. I
Hang
would
on, Nathan.
agree. Hey,
1 second. Yeah, 1 second. Did you put it in the right text channel? The Flat Earth Arena text. It's not up. It's not in that one. There it is. Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna object to that first.
Oh, 1 second. No, you got you got to let him finish though, because I just, he's not done. I had to stop because he wasn't putting it in the right channel. So we're just getting that sorted out. Go ahead, Nathan.
Yeah, sure. And just if you could, I took notes. Just take a pen, take a paper, write down everything I'm saying that is wrong, please. Okay. So I already covered sunsets and sunrises. On my personal observations, what you said is not true. The sun and moon do not go below the horizon. This is also apparent with green flashes. If you look how light enters a prism, if the light is coming from above the prism, the green is above the red, yellow, orange spectrum. But if the light is coming from below the prism or below the atmosphere, the green is below the red, orange, yellow spectrum. So the sun rays always come down towards the earth. They'll never be on the sun, or they'll never be on the ceiling of your home. Even if you're on a tall mountain, during sunrise and sunset, because sun rays always come down. Now I'm going to move on to the second point. Stars are rotating. I'll agree. You said this was proven with laser gyroscopes. Nothing is proven with laser gyroscopes because laser gyroscopes are man-made apparatuses that don't measure Earth rotation. They measure light deviation. Now you could assert that's Earth rotation, and I could assert that's other things. But the thing is it's not scientifically proven. It's just an assertion. It's called affirming the consequent. If P, then Q. P happens, so Q. It's a fallacy. The third thing you said is shadows are measured. Well, you're assuming parallel sun rays, which isn't what we observe. What we observe are crepuscular sun rays with a localized light. The only way to duplicate this is with obstruction of a localized light and particulates in the air, which would be the gas and moisture in the atmosphere. Now, number 4, you said moon eclipses. You assume the shadow, which I don't assume. Eclipse is caused by the shadow. Moonlight is measurably cold, so moonlight is not sunlight. And when a lunar eclipse happens, it's glowing red. Now, every shadow I've seen is black. Now, if you're going to assert that happens because of refraction, well, atmospheric conditions change day to day, hour to hour. You could not predict that months in advance. And the fifth thing you said was atmospheric gradient. You have no proof. We could have an atmosphere without a container, so we would not have a gradient without a container. You're just a crybaby glober who doesn't want to admit we have
Objection.
a dome. Okay, go ahead. Objection. I'm done.
So we'll
Yeah,
go
you
ahead
don't-
and rescind the objection then.
Yeah. 1 second. Yeah, you don't have to use an objection for that. Just continue to rebut, Latin. I'm just if you want to use it, go ahead. But I'm asking you don't have to use it.
So here's the
Yeah, you don't
problem.
have to use it.
In the past 2 debates, I was not quoted properly, and I'm concerned that may happen again. So we're going to go through this, okay? We have to make sure that you guys are hearing me because I'm going to play back the tape. So I spoke of the sun disk for my first point, and you showed me examples of a sunset and sunrise without speaking of a disk. I made absolutely sure you did not say the word disk. In your photographs, you show no disk. You only show the glare of the sunshine, except for the one example at the very bottom, which shows your smallest one, and you are not.
Objection. Miggy,
Okay.
this is a
Yep.
straw
1
man
second.
argument.
Yeah.
I
1
speak
second.
10
1 second.
seconds.
Yeah. 1 second. So Nathan, what is your objection?
I never asserted the sun was a disk, so he's rambling on about a sun disk that I never asserted was real. So if
I
we
never
could just
s-
get
I-
over
I'm
that.
objecting.
1
your
second.
objection.
1 second.
You're in
Yeah.
the
1
middle of my
second.
objection.
He's got to have time to finish his objection. Go ahead, Nathan.
So it's a straw man. I never talked about a sun disk. He brought this into the conversation. I don't know why the hell he's talking about it. It's a total straw man.
Objection.
All
to
right.
your
So
objection.
yeah. 1 second. I gotta get a point of clarification here. So he didn't mention a sun disk at any point in time. So I'm gonna have to ask you, Flatten, to specify where he said sun disk. Go ahead.
I'm objecting to that because I never said that he specified a sun disk. I said
All right,
very clearly that I spoke of the sun disk when I first made my point. So this is
Okay.
irrelevant.
So you're saying sun disk, but you're not saying that he said it. Is that clear?
I'm saying sun disk, and he responded to my point about the sun disk by showing me different sizes of the sunshine, not different sizes of the sun disk. So he did not. His response to my point was not a response to my point. It wasn't a valid response to my
sorry.
point. And so then he's objecting to something that I did not accuse him of saying.
Flatten, I never heard you say sun disk. I heard you say sunsets and sunrises, and then you went on. Your argument was, which we should stay on track with, the size doesn't change, which I posted from my personal observation. It does. And then you said it goes under the horizon, which I posted from my personal observation. It doesn't. So
Size of
I'm
what
just
doesn't
wondering. So I never talked about a sun disk, and I never heard you talk about a sun disk. What do you think the sun is a disk? Is that your argument?
So you didn't hear me then. So let's get this real clear. And guys, pay attention. I spoke of the sun disk. What we see a circle when we filter out the glare. Okay? So the glare of the sunshine and the shape of the circle, which we call a sun disk, is what I'm discussing when I discuss what we see as it heads toward the horizon. That disk does not change, even though the glare of the sunshine obviously does.
So you think the sun is a disk?
I did not speak about what I think the sun is. So for the third time, I spoke of what we see. When you filter out the glare of the sunshine, you see a circle. We call that a sun disk. We universally, everyone knows what a disk shape is. So it is shaped like a circle, right? So we call that a sun disk. You may not use that word, but you understand the meaning of what I'm describing. I am not trying to assert to you at this point what the sun is made of or what the actual three-dimensional shape of the sun is yet. Get it? So that disk that we see in the sky doesn't change size in the sky for us. It is about, I think the
So you just
calculations
said
are
the sun.
2/3
You
of
just said that disk.
a degree.
Flatten, you just said that disk we see in the sky. So you're
sure did.
asserting what the shape is.
No, there's no assertion
You
about what the shape of
literally
the sun
just
is. I
said,
said
I'm
in the
not going
sky.
to assert
I'm
what
not
the shape
describing
is.
what the sun is made of or what the 3D shape of the sun is. I can describe something as I see it, the optical visual description, without going into the intrinsic nature of the object. So we're speaking, when I say in the sky, I didn't describe it in space. I didn't say 93 million miles away. I didn't say what it's made of or any of that. I simply said in the sky. I'm trying to make sure that you see the
All right.
distinction of what we see in the sky and what the shape is of that we see in the sky. See in the sky is the key.
Flatten, you'll admit we observe a disk sun in the sky?
I
Not a ball?
am asserting that what we see is a circular shaped object. A ball or a flat disc shaped object that is directly facing us would have the same exact shape. We wouldn't be able to see a distinction in that shape if that shape is emitting so much light. It would require some tools for us to make that distinction. And so far, we haven't discussed any kind of tools yet.
Okay, well, you asserted that moon eclipses were caused because the Earth interferes with the light coming from the sun.
I thought I was responding to your comments. You've kind of taken over, or are we going to?
What do you mean
my first
taking
comment.
over? You have been trying to derail and sidetrack this entire conversation.
Derail
Flatten.
what? I'm speaking of a sun disk shape in the sky. You didn't realize that.
You already told us you don't know the shape, and now you're telling
But
us
I know
you're talking
what
about
it
a
looks
sun
like
disk
in
shape.
the sky. The
That
shape
is
in the
double
sky is a
speakless.
circle. And I
Double
made it clear to you
speakless.
that you can understand that a three-dimensional ball and a two-dimensional flat disc that is facing you directly head on will have the same shape in the sky.
All right, point of clarification real quick. Flatten, point of clarification. What you were saying is your observation is you see a sun disk, right?
Right.
Just really quick. Point of
I
clarification.
see a disc.
Okay.
I can't say that we can distinguish the shape. as
We're
a
not talking about shape. We're just saying what you're
Right.
seeing with the observation.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so Nathan, do you get that as far as what he's saying?
Cool. He thinks the sun's a disk. All right. So he said.
No, I did
stars
not
are-
say I think the sun's a disc. No,
Yeah, you said it
I
over
didn't
and
say
over
that.
again.
No, I did not. I said that the shape
Well,
that we
why'd
see
you
in
talk
the
about a sun
sky. Right. I'm talking about the shape that we see in the sky versus what I think the sun's actual
Okay, great.
shape is. Great.
My next question, Flatten.
No,
can
you
prove-
already asked the
can
question.
you
I'm supposed to
prove-
respond to your second
Flatten,
point.
I heard you.
I'm
I heard you.
trying to respond to your
Flatten, we all
points that you
heard
already
you.
raised.
No, I
So
heard you.
you-
Can you prove
right,
the
so-
sun's a ball? Flatten.
Okay, so
heard
to
you.
your point
We
number
heard
2,
you.
you said something about prism, not atmosphere, and that the sun is not below the atmosphere. So in regards to your prism statement, you have misunderstood how a prism works. A prism separates light into different bands, or at least you didn't explain it clearly enough. A prism separates light into different bands. It separates what's called white light into different bands. The atmosphere, were it a prism, would therefore be available to separate light of other objects in the same manner, i.e. the moon, or you would see an airplane from far away. You would see various objects at the horizon, further away at the horizon, and those objects would demonstrate that same prism-like effect. So for instance, in your first picture, you're not showing the sun separating light into different bands. You're showing the intensity of the sunlight being diminished as the bottom of the disk heads closer to the horizon. So you got a white, then a yellow, and then looks like an orange, right? But if you look at your prism goes from dark to red to yellow. Okay, so I shouldn't see white to red to orange. That's not how a prism works. Okay, so then in regards to that, point number 3, laser gyros, you say they measure light deviations, but they don't necessarily measure the motion of the earth. It could be other things. So the problem with that is that this is why I use the stars in my example. The light in that gyro that deviates in some of those high-end gyros, gyros, they are matching the rotational period of the stars. Okay, so if you calibrate the gyro to move as it's supposed to move with
Objection.
Okay, there's an objection on the table. 1 second, Flatten. What's your objection?
My objection is that he said it's the rotation of the stars, but he's trying to prove rotation of the Earth. Now,
point of
don't
clarification.
interject. Don't shut your stupid mouth.
No, I can say point of clarification.
1 second. 1 second. 1 second.
I have 60 seconds. Okay.
He has
I
time
knew
to
you were
explain.
going to object. I knew you were going to object. You can't hold
Go
your
ahead,
numpty
Nathan.
zombie frothing mouth. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Skip
shut
that.
up. I'm still in the middle of my objection. Okay. So there is no scientific experiment you can support your claims with It's called affirming the consequent. If P, then Q. Q happens, so it must be P. Now it's light moving in a gyroscope, not Earth. We're not measuring Earth moving. You can assert the light moves because of Earth rotation, and I can assert it moves because of other reasons, but it's just an assertion, an empty, baseless claim, not scientifically proven, with an independent variable you manipulate to prove the cause. I just need a concession. You don't have an independent variable for the gyroscope, or I need to know what the independent variable is, please and thank you.
Okay, so you are objecting to what exactly?
I said the laser gyroscope was affirming the consequent fallacy.
Okay, so how can you object? Wait a minute. To the moderator, how can he object when I have not finished my point regarding how the gyroscope
Because
works?
it's an affirming the consequent
Right. So
fallacy.
you didn't finish letting me make my point.
Hang on, Flatten. By the rules of the arena, you can object if somebody's building a straw man or a logical fallacy is being committed. You have to object, and it's part of the reason why we do it point for point and not let people go on for 4 or 5 points. This is the breakaway from the standard old debate model. That's why we have it this way. We set it this way so that people can actually engage point for point. So it's very difficult if you start getting into like 4 or 5 points that you're trying to get across, and the other opponent can't respond. So the objection is being brought forward, so we can actually break through the idea that somebody's building.
Okay, I got it.
It goes either way. So
I got it. So he's saying I made a straw man. What is the straw man? I didn't accuse him of anything. I was describing how the gyroscope works.
No.
And I didn't make a straw man argument to his point.
I said it was an affirming the consequent fallacy.
Oh, so now you're saying affirming the consequent.
Not Miggy.
Why are you talking?
I never said it was a straw man, bro.
Okay, why are you
said
talking
it was
slow
affirming the consequent fallacy.
But why are you talking in
P,
slow
then
motion?
Q. Okay, so you're saying if light deviates inside the gyroscope, Earth rotation. Well, light deviates inside the gyroscope, so Earth rotation. But there's no experiment or way for you to measure that that's actually Earth rotating.
Yeah.
You're only asserting that it's a fallacy called affirming the consequence.
Okay, that's false. Okay, you're taking too long. That's false, and I can explain to you how you can very easily. I'm surprised you didn't know this, but the independent variable in this instance would be the different locations on Earth, the latitude. So how close you are to the North Pole versus how close you are to the equator, and the variances in latitude alone.
I got a second objection.
Correspond
to
that.
I need 60 seconds. You're done.
Go ahead. Hang on. You got an objection?
Yes.
Nathan?
He said the independent variable was locations on Earth. Well, the independent variable of a scientific experiment is the cause. And the cause of his claim was Earth rotation. So if you move latitudes and that's what causes the deviation, well, then you didn't prove Earth rotation. You proved when you change your freaking location, there's a change in the deviation. Excellent. Well done. I could assert the cause.
So now I'm going to object.
Okay, so now there's an objection.
So
Latin, what's your objection?
You presupposed what the independent variable was without understanding the relationship to the cause. So here is the independent variable again, and then you're going to understand the cause. The independent variable is the location. What that causes is the gyroscope data to vary, to change. That is what that independent variable is causing. Okay, the Earth rotating or not rotating is simply what we are hypothesizing. Okay, so you don't create a hypothesis and then say that the hypothesis you're creating becomes a cause of an independent variable. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. So we're back to me stating that the gyroscope changing its latitude will give you different results on that gyroscope, which corresponds to positions on a globe that is rotating at 15 degrees per hour. And I didn't get to address your fourth, fifth, or sixth point.
I just need a point of clarification real quick. There was a logical fallacy called affirming the consequent Do you understand what that meant, Flatten? Before we
I
move
understand
forward?
that, but I don't see how that applies here since my independent variable was not the cause that he was trying to assert that it was. So it kind of doesn't
Well,
apply to me.
Wait,
well,
it
no,
wasn't the cause.
wait, hang
Nikki.
on.
It wasn't
Yeah,
the cause that I
one
was
sec.
trying to assert. It was the
Yeah.
cause he was trying to assert.
Yeah. So P therefore Q, Q therefore P, and like if you're understanding like what's happening here, you're saying one thing leads to the other, therefore it has to be that.
No, what I
And
said
that,
was, yeah, watch again. What I said was the independent variable. You guys got to really watch me on this. Independent variable is the different locations on the Earth and the resulting gyroscope data, because a gyroscope used in any other field of study or use for any reason is to measure movement across 3 axes, X, Y, and Z. When you calibrate the gyroscope and make sure that it works in other instances, and you look at all the gyroscopes, all the laser gyroscopes that have been used throughout the entire planet, they all seem to work in the same manner. They seem to show a rotation. That gyroscope is at a location, a fixed location on the Earth. And as a day passes, the gyroscope shows data indicating rotation. The X,
cool.
Y, and Z axes are rotating. So it's not me affirming any consequent.
Yeah,
the data
hang on,
is following the design of the gyroscope.
I think you're not letting me talk, so sorry about that. I'm going to have to mute you. The point of clarification was affirming the consequent and understanding what it means is that you're talking about movement in the gyroscope. And you're saying moving different locations and getting the data from that will also cause the person to be understanding how you're getting the conclusion that because you move to different locations, you're going to get a rotation at that location, and then say, well, the conclusion of that would be that the Earth is indeed moving. But if you see movement happening within that device, does it mean that you're seeing movement of the Earth? Movement of what movement are we looking at here? I'm just getting a point of clarification. I need you to respond to that.
Okay.
What movement? What movement
this is easy,
are we
guys.
seeing?
This is easy. Let's hurry up. So the result is whatever that gyroscope, wherever that gyroscope is, if it's like a part of a device that moves around, the movement will register and it will correspond to the movements. If it is, I don't know, on an airplane, the gyroscope is reliable enough to help the airplane know where it is in any place on Earth. So if the gyroscope works to identify the movement of objects that it's attached to, yeah, then you put the object on what we would consider a fixed part of the Earth. Let's just say on a hill, and that hill hasn't moved relative to the other parts of the area. The hill didn't move around the Earth by itself. The hill is where it is. The gyroscope remains on that hill. Now, the gyroscope is picking up a rotation, because that's the only way I can describe the X, Y, and Z axes are changing over time in such a pattern that you will see a rotational result in the data. And in addition, all gyroscopes do this.
Objection.
There's no other type of thing it does. It registers movement.
There's an objection. Go ahead with your objection, Nathan.
He's saying the only way I can describe it is rotation of the Earth, which was my first point. He's affirming the consequent, guys. There is no way to prove the deviation of light is caused by Earth rotating. So yes, it would change how much it registers as you move laterally towards the North Pole or laterally towards the South, but that doesn't prove that we are rotating. It just proves that something is moving. You can't prove it's the Earth, period. It's just affirming the consequent.
All right, Flatten.
So again, my response is the gyroscope is reliable enough to pick up movement of anything that gyroscope is attached to. It is reliable enough to identify locations of airplanes and other, flying devices. You are able to use a gyroscope to register movement of anything else it's using.
Okay, so
you don't say there's something else causing that.
Point of 1 second for between. Hang on, Nathan. Between you and him, I need a point of clarification. What is the device measuring movement of? That is what I need to know.
Okay.
What is the device? Okay, so I'm gonna have you respond, Flatten, and I need Nathan to respond afterwards. Okay, so you respond and then he responds.
Right. To the best of my understanding, it registers an offset between two light beams, which when there is any movement, the light beams, once they are reaching another sensor, they are not in phase as they were when they were first emitted. So that out of phase creates that deviation, that out of phase deviation corresponds to X and Y and Z movements. Now, the deeper detail of that technology is beyond my scope of understanding.
That's
Go
fine.
ahead, Will.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Sure.
What is it registering
Alright.
movement of?
He said it was measuring the offset of two light beams. Great. So it's not measuring the rotation of the Earth. It's measuring the offset of two light beams. And now, a real quick question for a gentleman I'm debating. Are you familiar with the fact that most commercial airplanes have not in history used vacuum or ring laser gyroscopes? They use mechanical
Objection.
gyroscope.
Objection.
Okay, objection on the table. Flatten, what is your objection?
Yeah, the issue here is, what does the gyroscope do? If the gyroscope, he says the gyroscope does not register rotation of the Earth. And I said earlier multiple times, the gyroscope registers movement. It registers movement. So
Yeah.
why are we
And
sitting
then
up
you
here
asserted
having
what
a
that movement
conversation
was.
about what the gyroscope doesn't measure, when in every other instance of the gyroscope's use, it registers movement?
Okay, yeah, but okay, so I'm going to bring a point of clarification. You did speak about when I asked you about it, you said that it was measuring the light beams within the sensors that it's of the device.
When there's movement.
But yeah, you said beyond that, it's probably a bit more complicated and you don't know too much about it, which is what you said. You can play back the tape. This is what you said.
Sure, I don't have an issue with that.
Yep.
All right,
And Miggy,
so
real quick, if I could expound on gyroscope.
No, a point of clarification is for
Yep.
me. It's me to clarify. So I'm clarifying for you that the offset, and I also said this. You'll probably say I didn't, but I did. Is that the out of phase, the offset of the light corresponds to the movement along the X, Y, and Z axis. And then I said at that point, I'm not quite sure, because there's 3 axes. So how does one out of phase beam, if there's only one, register 3 axes? It's out of my understanding for that. But
right,
the
let me toss it
movement
to Nathan.
corresponds. The movement is picked up by the out of phase light beam.
Well, okay, Nathan.
Yep. I want to finish up this point and move on to, does the Earth have a Coriolis effect? But here's my ending point, and you take as much time as you need to respond. Every commercial and military aircraft has on board an instrument that only works on a flat Earth. The instrument is the attitude indicator, which is also known as an artificial horizon. The artificial horizon is a display. It shows the pilot the attitude of the plane to the actual horizon, even if he cannot see the horizon because it is obscured by inclement weather or darkness. A gyroscope has 2 important properties. This is why
objection.
Okay, hang on. There's an objection. Go ahead, Flatten. What is your objection?
He said that these airplanes have a device that only works on the flat Earth. So he's affirming the consequent, because the point of debate is whether or not the Earth is flat or if it's spherical, and he's affirming the consequent.
All right, I'm going to have Nathan clarify. Nathan, could you clarify what you mean?
Of course. I'm happy to. So that was the start of my introduction. Now you got to listen to the details, okay? The details are what's important. Gyroscope has 2 important properties. This is why they use a gyroscope. Before they had vacuum and ring laser gyroscopes, this is why they used a gyroscope. It keeps its rigidity in space and has precession. All practical applications of gyroscopes are based on these 2 properties. Precession means that the gyro will resist any force that attempts to change its plane of rotation. A force applied to the gyro will result in the movement of the gyro, but not in the direction of the applied force. The gyro will instead move at right angles to the direction of the applied force. The rate of precession is in the direct proportion to the applied force. Now, this is the important part you need to pay attention to. The most important property of the gyroscope for a pilot is its rigidity in space. That means a gyroscope will retain its horizontal altitude parallel to the direction of the spin of its rotor and remain its vertical attitude in relation to its rotor's axis. The problem with the spherical Earth model is that a plane with an attitude indicator showing straight and level flight will cause a plane to fly off into the upper atmosphere as the curve of the globe falls away from the aircraft. The only way a pilot on an aircraft can fly straight and level and a level path using his attitude indicator is on a flat Earth.
Okay, so I'm going to do I object again?
You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to object. Just come back with a rebuttal. It'll be fine.
Okay, so the rebuttal is he did, even though he's reading from some kind of source, he overlooked something, and the overlooking is, I don't know if he added the word flat Earth in it or not, and if he did, or if he did not, I want to see where the source is that he's reading from. Regardless, a gyroscope has what's called a gimbal. It has 3 of them. Okay, so you've got, I'm sorry, not 3 gimbals. It has 3 axes of rotation, and so what you have is the rotor, which, you're right, the rotor maintains its orientation parallel to, you would say parallel to the horizon. But what you have to understand is that the gimbals, the 3 rings that go around, are remaining fixed, or they're remaining, they're keeping their position in space relative to the movement that the gyroscope is in. The gyroscope is moving, and those axes are not. So therefore, what you have is, if you have a drift, the drift is caused by something. Yeah. Okay. And the drift of an axis, of a gyro that is professionally made, that is of high quality, will also pick up the 15 degrees per hour drift, just like the laser ring gyroscope.
All right, great.
And
so
I will go ahead and post an example of a non-laser ring gyroscope that is of high quality that can also pick up the drift of the rotation of the Earth.
Excellent. So we're going to move to Coriolis, but real quick, the rotor maintains its rotation parallel to the horizon. You admitted that. You just said that. So
sure,
it would be impossible to do that on a level flight unless you're on a flat Earth. So we're going to move on.
That's not true. Objection.
Go ahead. Closing argument. You don't need to object. You don't need to waste an objection.
Objection.
Just make your closing argument.
Yeah. Hang on. I gotta honor the objection. Flatten, what's your objection?
The objection is he's again I would say affirming the consequent, but I'm going to try to make this real easy. The gyroscope rotor maintains its orientation due to gravity. Okay, due to the forces causing things to go downward. The fact that the notion that you're trying to say it can only happen on a flat Earth is presumptive, because what you're failing to recognize is the vast distance of our globe. The Earth is 26,000 miles in circumference. So on an airplane, even an airplane traveling at 1,000 miles an hour, you got to wait about an hour just to go 15 degrees. So you're still having plenty of time for that gyro rotor to gently orient itself along and parallel to the horizon, even though the Earth is curved. So you are incorrect.
All right. So yeah, thanks for that. I'm going to go ahead and let Nathan finish a closing statement, because I think he wants to end this debate. Go ahead, Nathan.
No, I don't want to end the debate.
Okay.
Let's keep going.
Great. So you think the Earth rotates 1,000 miles an hour? Does the atmosphere move with the Earth, or does the atmosphere move separately from the Earth, creating what's called a Coriolis?
Okay, so you have an objection. What's your objection, Flatten?
The objection is, we had 5 points that we had discussed, and we are now approaching shadows, and he wants to skip the last 3 points that we had discussed earlier, and then basically interfere with the debate process.
Okay, I think he was talking about Coriolis, but what do you mean by shadows?
Shadows was the 4th. The sunset, sunrise was the first one. The stars was the 2nd. The shadows was the 3rd. Okay, so the shadows, he said, were caused by corpuscular rays. Local light is somehow involved in this, and so I'm going to try to clarify that mess. And what he did was confuse corpuscular rays, which are the sun rays that are seen due to the
Okay,
difference.
yeah, but yeah, one second. Were you talking about Coriolis, Nathan, or were you on about the shadows? Because I thought you were talking about Coriolis.
He said he wanted to move on. I covered why shadows measured are not a valid proof we live on a spinning ball. Now, you assume parallel sun rays and you assume a distant sun calculated by assuming the size of Venus and then doing math. That's all assumptions. It's faith-based science. Now, I wanted to move on why you think the atmosphere would move with the Earth rotating 1,000 miles an
Are
hour.
you going to address my objection or not?
Well, I'm just waiting to see what he was actually on about. Not
He's asking to move on from the point that I just objected.
No,
right.
You didn't have a legitimate fallacy or anything you object to. You just wanted to direct.
I agree. I do not have a legitimate fallacy. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Right. So
I don't have a legitimate fallacy.
Right. So that. 1 second, Flatten. Yep. You got one taken away because that was invalid. You didn't object to something that he specifically said that was incorrect. You were just saying that he skipped the point that you wanted to actually address, and that's not a reasonable, valid objection. So it needs to be something that he actually built a logical fallacy on, that something that you, a point that you made. So it wasn't that. So I had to remove one of your objections. So now you have to.
How do I prevent when we have a debate and you make a point and I make a counterpoint? How do I prevent the other side from skipping over the resolution of the point and saying, let's just move on to the next point? If I can't object, how do you handle that in these debates?
Well, so if you are actually talking about a certain point and the person's not addressing it, then you bring it to then that's where you make the objection. He's not answering my question. That's what you say. But if it's something that you was not even talked about and he already covered it and he actually wanted to talk about something else, then it's not within the realm of like you were actually discussing it and now he's not wanting to talk about it. You see where I'm going with that? So that's different.
Yeah,
that's a bit different. So
right.
That's why that objection was taken away. But so he actually wants to go on about Coriolis. He was done talking about the corpuscular rays, as you wanted to actually get on about and talk about. So
I
now
didn't
we're
get to
actually
speak about them. I never got to speak about them. So that's
right.
The problem.
So
yeah, we were busy talking about gyroscopes, and then I told you how
we were busy talking about gyroscopes, and then the gyroscopes were to be followed by point number 3, which is about the shadows, of which you mentioned corpuscular rays without giving me a chance to clarify or to correct your mistake.
Right. So he didn't actually was on about that point, and then he didn't answer you, if that's what you're saying. So
yes,
if he
that's
wanted,
what I'm saying, because that's not an answer.
Right, I understand that, but he didn't even talk about it as far as like saying, okay, now I'm going to talk about these shadows, and then I'm going to skip over to Coriolis. So he's not like not addressing you. He just didn't talk about it. So that's okay because he didn't even bring it up. So
okay, so
if you wanted to bring it up, that'd be something different. But he didn't even bring it up, so he doesn't have to talk about it. So.
Okay, so my third point about the shadows of the sun, his rebuttal to that was that the shadows are not caused by anything other. Well, he's mentioned that the shadows are caused by corpuscular rays, something relating to corpuscular rays. So at that point, he has made an assertion. He has made a point. He did not give me a chance to correct that mistake that he made, because the shadows that I am speaking of are not caused by corpuscular rays.
Hang on, Flatten. There's an objection. Go ahead, Nathan. What's your objection?
Do this. The shadows are not caused by corpuscular rays. Shadows are caused by sticks in the ground. The thing is you're measuring the shadow. And
objection.
Yeah, 1 second. He's
still
within
my objection.
He's still within the objection. I have to hear what his objection is. Go ahead, Nathan.
He said.
He said the cause of the shadows was corpuscular rays. No, what I was saying is the cause of corpuscular rays is 1, localized light, 2, obstruction, which would be the clouds, and 3, particulates in the air. That's the only way to recreate corpuscular rays. Now, I never said that corpuscular rays cause the shadows. Obviously, the sticks in the ground cause the shadows, you numpty. So, Miggy, I'm sorry I had to object there. I just had to clarify that.
Yeah, as point of clarification, that's fine. Flatten, what's your rebuttal?
Okay, so when I spoke about the shadows and how the shadows deviate from, I guess, every so many miles, the shadows are deviating from I guess the phrase is called a high noon, the solar noon. The deviation of those shadows, I don't know what crepuscular rays has anything to do with this. So him mentioning crepuscular rays, I have no idea what that has to do with what we're talking about. Local light, have no idea what local light refers to, because I have a local light right here. It's my lamp. The local light of this lamp is not causing the shadows that I see during the daytime all around me when the sun is out.
All right. Point of clarification, real quick, Nathan. What were you mentioning about the local light being with the shadows, so that Flatten can understand what you mean? Okay.
Let me elaborate. So, if you come home from a long day of work and you kick your shoes off, and your shoes land in different positions of the floor in your living room, depending on where the light source is, they will have different shadows. Now, that doesn't prove you live on a spinning ball house, that every time you walk in your house is a ball. It proves that the light is localized. It's close to the objects that are projecting the shadow. And that's why you're measuring some sort of deviation in the shadow. But that doesn't prove the surface curves. That just proves the shadows are different when you change location. Now, that would work very easily on a flat Earth. You have a localized light source, the sun, moving around polar center. And as it casts the light rays down on the flat Earth, as it moves around polar center, those angles will change. Very observable from crepuscular rays. That's why I brought it up.
So local sun, when you say the sun is local, you're going to have to give a context of the locality. Are we talking local within 1,000 miles, local within 10,000 miles, local within 100,000 miles? I need a range of the distance for you to say local.
Yeah, sure. So you're familiar with daytime
can you just give me a number?
Temperature?
Can you just give me a number? How far away is the
sun?
No,
I've never measured the distance to
What's
the sun.
What's the maximum distance that you would say the sun is from the most distant point on Earth?
I'll repeat again for you. I've never measured the distance to the sun. You think 93 million miles away, that's
then
assumed.
You can't say that it's local.
Well, what do you mean? I can't say?
You can say maybe it might be
claim
or might not, but you can't say it's local if you can't measure the distance.
You claim it's distant and larger.
I'm not talking about my
than
claim.
The Earth.
I'm not talking about my claim. I asked you what is your.
What do you mean you're not talking about your claim? You said we have shadows that can be measured.
I didn't say anything about the distance. I didn't say anything about how far.
You said we have shadows that can be measured.
For what? I said the shadows can be measured.
Point
didn't speak about the distance from the sun.
Those shadows are based on your religion that
that's
the sun
that's
is far away.
Predicate my point, and I did not make that point. You're trying to predicate my point.
Yeah,
for
you
me.
did.
But I asked
debunking
you,
your claim.
Here is where is the sun? You said local, so I need you to define your concept of local. Is local something that's 1,000 miles or closer, 10,000 miles and closer, and so on and so forth? You said local. What do you mean by local?
Exactly. And not just local, but smaller than the Earth.
There's
no way.
Let's local. Let's keep ourselves focused on one point at a time. You said
two things.
I need you to give me a maximum. I asked you this. I asked you again. The maximum distance that you will say is still local.
You're trying to strum in an argument where I tell you how far away the sun is. Stop talking.
You saying something.
You gotta stop interrupting
I'm asking
me.
you a question and you refuse to answer.
You're just interrupting.
All right, I'm going to get a point of clarification here just for Flatten so that he can understand where you're coming from, Nathan. What do you mean by local sun?
Yeah, well, if the sun was casting parallel sun rays on the Earth, it's not just distant, but it's also larger than the Earth. So there's two things he's missing here. It's not just that the sun is close to the Earth, it's that the sun is smaller than the Earth. Then that's why we have hot spots. That's why we have sun dogs and halos. That's why we have drastic temperature variations day to day. That's why we have different fauna and flora in the north and south.
Can I object or no?
Sure. Object all you want. What's the fallacy?
Object because you are not answering his question. He asked you how far away. What is local? Distance. Local refers to a distance that you can use a number to measure.
Okay, so he's asking for, like, if you've ever given a number to how close the sun is being local. I think this is something specific that Flatten wants you to actually say
and
yes
I even
or
asked
no
for
to.
A range.
Well,
you yeah, one second.
Flatten, 1 second. Flatten. Just let me finish. So this is basically all Flatten's wanting right now at this point. And so I guess a distance is what he's saying is what he's going to want to base local on. Is that what you would base local on? The number specific, like a distance?
I'll repeat again, Miggy. I've never
Yeah.
measured the distance to the sun. My argument is that the sun is not bigger than the Earth, and it's not farther than the moon. If that were the case, we would have parallel sun rays. We don't. We have crepuscular sun rays.
Okay, I'm going to unmute Flatten. Flatten, what's your rebuttal?
He did not answer the question, so we cannot proceed. I can't proceed without an answer. How far away is local?
I did answer it. I've never measured the distance to the sun. My argument
I didn't ask
is
you for the
not.
distance to the sun.
What'd you ask for?
How far away do you consider local? What is the maximum number, the maximum distance in miles that you would say is still local?
Yeah, you're asking for distance. One second, Nathan. You're asking for distance right now.
But I didn't speak about the sun.
Isn't that what we're talking about?
It is,
crepuscular
but
rays?
I'm not. But hold on. He spoke of something being local. It could be the sun. It could be the moon. It could be whatever. If he's speaking of something local in this cosmological concept of his, he needs to have a concept of distance for him to say this is local, and that is not.
Right, but you said he wasn't talking about distance. Like you said, well, what define local, and you wanted him to give you a number. He said, I haven't measured the sun. So he's not giving you any number.
I'm not asking for a measurement of the sun. I'm asking for an understanding of what local. What do you define local as being as far as a distance? It's local. The word local denotes a distance. So when you say local, then you need to explain to me, well, how far away are we saying before it's not local anymore? A sun,
all right,
piece of
I have an answer
pie.
for that.
I mean, your
brain.
He's got an answer, Flatten.
The sun, the moon, and the stars are equidistant to the Earth. So when I say local, I mean the sun's not farther away than the moon. The stars are farther away than the moon or the sun. Does that help clarify what I'm saying?
No, it does not, because you gave a relationship between the celestial bodies. You spoke about the equidistance between the sun and the moon to the Earth, but you didn't denote what that distance is. Do I need to talk slower like you, or are we done with that?
Shut the fuck up,
Exactly.
asshole.
That's how he came across. I'll give what I get.
I never claimed to have a distance.
Well, you said local, so I'm back to ask you how far away is something that is local before it's not local anymore.
It's not just that it's local, it's that it's smaller than the Earth. Okay?
But it's still local, and I need you to clarify what you mean by local, not how something is equidistant, because that doesn't denote a locality to you and me. That simply denotes a relationship between you, me, and the objects. If you can't distinguish where any of these objects are in relationship to you, the distance, then the equidistance is irrelevant.
You think the sun is 93 million miles away from the Earth?
I want you to tell me for the 7th time, how far away do you denote something as local before you say it is no longer local? Give me a number. I'm not strawmanning. I haven't accused you of saying anything that you did not say. I asked you to tell me how far away something is that is local.
Who the fuck knows how far the sun is away? Far the sun is, you stupid little shit.
Bong.
Who the
Bong. Sorry, Bong.
I'm getting my ass kicked, apparently. I know that later on it's going to be my butt got kicked in this debate.
No, one second. I think there's something that he did bring up here. Nathan said he has not measured the sun. So that should give you a lot of information to tell you that he doesn't have a number to give you. So if you're trying to get
say it's local.
1 second, Flatten. It doesn't matter what you're trying to assert right now. He's saying he doesn't have a number to give you. So therefore, whatever conclusion you're going to draw from that is what you draw from that. But he's saying that it is local because of crepuscular rays. So there's something that he's attributing to why he thinks it's local. Now, you are saying, give me a number, a distance from your position to where that thing is. He's telling you, I don't have that. Okay, so I'm just bringing this to a point of clarification so that you understand what he's saying. What he's saying local. He's not talking about a specific number. He's saying when we see the sun and when we see crepuscular rays and how we perceive the sun, that it's smaller than the Earth that we live on. It's because of all the things that he denoted in his statement that he was talking about earlier. So that's why he was. Go ahead, Nathan.
Miggy, he's kind of hung up on crepuscular rays, but it's more.
No, I'm not. He is right here. He is not hung up on crepuscular rays. He is hung up on locality. Crepuscular rays are not really the main issue here. It's your inability to understand proportion. You're unwilling to acknowledge that you made a mistake. That mistake is you tried to attribute something as local. Now you're trying to redefine locale as being anything. It could be just whatever you want. Look, hey, the sun is 93 million miles away. That's local. Thanks.
How'd you determine it's 93 million miles away?
Well, you consider something about Venus. I can't remember how you worded it, but radar to Venus and calculations in the early days of Venus's distance correspond to a solar distance of about 93 million miles on average. That's not a religion. That's not, I think the word used was scientific faith. It's not scientific faith. It's just scientific experimentation and observation. But that's besides the point. Local means what? I don't know, according to you.
When did we radar Venus?
I don't know when, but we did.
I don't know.
Do you want to dispute that? I will be more than happy to take the objection if you want to say that it never happened.
You're saying we blasted Venus with radar?
There's no blasting. You don't blast anything with radar. There's no blasting involved.
You're saying
there's no spinning. It's not a spin when it's one rotation every 24 hours. We don't call that a spin. We call that a rotation. You got to use your terms in the correct proportion, or else you can mislead people. And snorting and laughing doesn't change that.
You're saying we shot Venus with radar to determine the size?
I'm going to say that we bounced a radar beam from Earth to Venus, and it returned to us. And they've done it many times since. And every time they do it, they get a distance based upon how long it takes for that light to travel there and back. From that distance, they use geometry, which I wish that I had remembered how, which should be easy to remember, to calculate the distance from Venus when it's at its furthest point from the sun, from our point of view, to calculate the distance to the sun.
Guys, Nathan,
sounds like an appeal to authority fallacy.
And all of it's appeal to an authority because I can't personally give you any of the information. He's appealing to authority every time that he makes his points because he can't provide any personal information.
I already posted my own personal observations in the chat. I posted my own personal observations.
I debunked those because you showed sunshine, not the sun disk, and we already clarified that.
No, you didn't debunk anything.
Yeah, I did. You didn't show me the sun just getting smaller. You showed me sunshine getting dimmer. Less sunshine doesn't mean the sun's size or the sun's distance changed. It just means the sun's glare was reduced. That was easy to see right off the top.
Not just that, it doesn't intersect the horizon. It vanishes above the horizon, just like star trails. If you take those at a marine horizon.
I'm going to disagree with you, and I'll show you a picture of an intersection.
All right, you can disagree with me all you want. Does the Earth have Coriolis or not?
Yes, the Earth has Coriolis. Excellent. However, you are skipping my points. You're still skipping.
I covered
skipping
all
ahead.
5 of your points.
You didn't cover eclipse, and you didn't cover the atmospheric gradient.
Eclipse, you assumed a shadow. I talked about cold moonlight. I measured it. It's measurably cold. Have you ever tested moonlight yourself?
Excuse me. The moonlight. Hold on. You've confused shadow from an eclipse with the moon's illuminated surface from the Earth. Here's the thing about the shadow. Okay, the shadow occurs. This effect that you're describing occurs. Someone keeps messaging me. Could you guys hold off on the messages for a moment? So, the eclipse creates that effect every time the sun and the moon and the Earth are in alignment. The fact that the moon after that has its own, you say, cold light or whatever it is irrelevant. Yeah, because that effect does not occur until the eclipse occurs. And in addition, you can't say that it occurs. You cannot say that it occurs when there's no eclipse, because what you'll have instead are phases of the moon or a new moon. When you have a new moon, the light of that new moon is entirely different than the light of an eclipse.
Flatten. Shadows are black, not glowing red. So
the shadow is on. Listen, but see, here's the thing about it. Shadows are black, But you don't sit up here and ignore the fact that there's an eclipse because the moon that we see from our point of view isn't black. You have to look at other factors that would cause that moon to still have illumination. The main point that you are forgetting is that that change occurred at the eclipse. It didn't occur at random. It always occurs when the sun, moon, and the earth are in alignment. So it doesn't matter how you look at that glare, that afterglow, or whatever you want to call it during the eclipse. I can explain it as a reflection off of the earth. You can say that it's something else. It doesn't matter because it only occurs when the sun, moon, and earth are aligned.
Did you just say that the moon is glowing red during a lunar eclipse because of the reflection off the earth?
Yes. And even if that's not the case, as I just said, we're going to talk in slow motion again. Then what you don't understand is that effect, whatever the cause is irrelevant because it only occurs in slow motion for you when the earth, moon, and sun are in alignment. You want to start slow motion with me? I'll do it with you.
You said, you said it doesn't matter what the cause is.
My ass kicked in here, aren't I?
Yeah, it says you said it doesn't matter what the cause is, but I thought
that
this
is to the main point.
Hey, Flatten, shut up. Okay, you told me it doesn't matter what the cause is, but this was one of your proofs. The Earth is a spinning globe. That's why we're talking about it. You didn't want to move on to Coriolis because you wanted to talk about this.
That change
now you're
in the
claiming
color of the moon
doesn't matter what the cause. You gotta shut up. You gotta shut your.
That was
all right, guys. Hang on. We can't.
Okay.
One second. We can't. The audience can't hear it. Both of you talking at the same time. So we're gonna go ahead and ask. I'm gonna ask you guys if you want to go ahead and end the debate. I'm gonna ask Nathan. Do you want to end the debate?
Nope.
Let's keep going.
Talk about why he thinks the Earth has a Coriolis. He said it did, and then he wanted to move back to moon eclipses. And so far, he's just affirming the consequent. The moon turns glowing red because it's a shadow when shadows are dark.
I didn't say it turns glowing red because it's a shadow. What are you talking about?
So the Earth isn't intercepting the sunlight and causing a shadow on the moon during a lunar eclipse.
Okay, the moon isn't turning red because of a shadow. The moon's red glow occurs. The reason why I believe is because of the reflection of the light from the earth, but I could be mistaken.
But it is not. You could be mistaken.
Excuse me.
Objection.
Objection. Hang on. There's an objection.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. He said this is why I believe it, and I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, hang on, Nathan. So what was your objection?
He said, this is why I believe it, and I may be mistaken. Literally his words. It's all recorded on YouTube. So, guys, I just want you to know he's projecting his religious dogma on you. Not something that can be tested or verified. Shadows are dark, not glowing red. We have selenelian eclipses where the sun and moon are visible above the horizon. He has a lot of freaking mental gymnastics he's got to jump through. But I just want to point at the doublespeak already, which is, I'm not going to say what causes it, when this was one of 5 arguments he gave for the globe.
Okay, I'm going to let him rebuttal. Flatten, what is your rebuttal?
Okay, so my rebuttal is I never said that red afterglow during the eclipse was one of my main points. I didn't bring it up. You brought it up. I responded to you bringing it up. In addition to that, for me to not know why that afterglow occurs is, for the 4th time, irrelevant because it only occurs when there's an eclipse. It only occurs when we know the sun, moon, and earth is aligned. So you need to have that objection retracted, and it should be counted against you because, in addition, you said I'm projecting religious dogma. I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you are.
Hold on. I can't project religious dogma about that particular point if I'm telling you I believe, but I don't know why. Okay? It doesn't mean
that's exactly
that I'm projecting religious dogma, because religious dogma has to do with a belief with something that is either supernatural or
it's it would be regarded to as justified belief, and that's kind of what you're saying that you have.
No, it's not. I didn't justify it. I did.
I'm saying
not justify it.
I didn't justify it. Why you don't have justified belief?
Why is what I did.
Anyways,
have an empty,
all right. So
religious belief. Excellent.
Yeah. So, anyways, guys, hang on tight 1 second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have to end the debate because I got to get going. So I'm gonna go and let you guys give closing statements. Flatten, give your closing statement, and then Nathan will follow up after you.
I'll let Nate go first. I prefer Nate to go first. Go first, Nate.
Yeah, sure. No problem. He said sunsets prove we live on a globe. And the reason he believes that, and he admits he believes that, is the size doesn't change and it doesn't go below the horizon. But I showed from my personal observation, the size does change and it doesn't go below the horizon. Second, he said stars are rotating. I'll agree. Stars are rotating, not the Earth. Third, he said shadows were measured. Yeah, you can measure shadows, but that works on a flat Earth too, with a small and localized light source. 4, he said moon eclipses. First, he assumed the shadow, which was glowing red, and obviously not a shadow, was caused from the sun, the moon, the Earth in alignment. Not true. We have selenelling on eclipses. Moonlight's measurably cold. It's not reflected moonlight. 5, he asserted a gradient. We didn't even get there, but you would not have a gradient without a container because you have a gas pressure gradient. You can't have pressure without a container. That's my closing arguments. I could go on. We could debate Coriolis after Miggy leaves if you want, but I don't think you have the balls.
Yeah, Nate, that's all great. Are you done? You said you're done. So, Nate, first of all, I'm not to impress you or anyone in here, but the fact of the matter is, and Jim's in that room, they are much aware of my tenacity. I could debate this for all of eternity. I will debate this until you are so exhausted that you will be tearing your hair out of your head.
Shut the fuck up.
One second, guys. One second. He's got to. 1 second, guys. He's got to finish his response.
Exactly.
I'm giving everybody a chance to do this, so please do not interrupt. Thank you. Go ahead, Flatten.
For all of eternity. So, Nate, you failed. You showed pictures of the sunshine. Could you show those pictures again, since this is being recorded? I really want to take this recording and copy it, and I want to make sure that we have it. You showed a picture, and maybe if you're not going to show it, I'll scroll up and find it. But it'll be faster if you show it. You didn't show pictures of the sun disk. There's no objection. Closing arguments, bro. We're done.
Yeah.
So no objection. So I want to see that picture. If you're not going to show it, let me scroll up for myself. You got 6 pictures of your personal experience of a sun. So in your pictures, the last picture shows a sun disk. The other 5 do not. The other 5 only show the glare of the sunshine. I cannot see the size of the sun disk in that picture, in those other 5 pictures. In addition, I do not trust the quality of your work, because you could have taken a picture at different zoom ratios. Thereby, you would show a different size sun disk. So that's not going to work. The rotation.
Those are screenshots from a time-lapse video.
It doesn't matter. Only one of them have a disc. Only one of them have a disc. The other 5 do not. Sorry. You're whooping my ass, by the way. Great job. So rotating at 15 degrees, the stars. Yeah, I told you at the outset. I said, Nate, if we discuss these points in isolation, you may have an alternate rebuttal. But because we're not doing that, I reminded you. Rotating at 15 degrees per hour corresponds to what the gyro picks up, 15 degrees per hour drift. So what a coincidence, because something else could probably make that happen, right? You could just have something else do it. So there's that. You don't even know what local is. You don't know how far away something is to call it local. So you're out on that one.
I swear to God,
and atmospheric gradient. So if the atmosphere, check this out. If the atmospheric gradient is such that you can keep going upward, you can keep increasing your altitude to the point to where the atmosphere is virtually zero. There's no atmosphere. What the hell?
Wait, are you ever going to finish talking?
No point of the dome, because the dome isn't doing anything.
Hang on, guys. He's got to finish.
Protect.
1 second, Flat. 1 second, Flat. 1 second.
Yeah, I want to say something. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know you guys want to jump in. I know everybody's antsy to shut him up, but he has to finish his closing statement. This is one of the things. 1 second, Flatten. This is one of the things we allow the people that are doing debates do. So we need to respect that in the arena, guys. Let him finish his closing statement, so you guys can afterwards, come in with whatever you want. Flatten, please finish up.
So yeah, let me try to hurry. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, so the atmospheric gradient is kind of irrelevant. The dome is kind of irrelevant if you can measure near to nothing as far as the atmosphere before you hit the dome. So that becomes important, but we didn't get to discuss that. The eclipse is in the shadow. So the eclipse is occurring in such a manner that it's aligned with the sun, moon, and earth. An eclipse always precedes a new moon. There's never a lunar eclipse always precedes a new moon.
I meant to say full moon.
That's that. And the shadow on Earth, when I say shadow, it doesn't mean that there's no other reflected light. Okay? The moon emitting reflected light, in fact, debunks the other flat Earth argument that the moon's light on other days, that white almost color, is the cold light of the moon, because how is that therefore impacted by the eclipse, which diminishes the light so greatly if there's no eclipse occurring? And then finally, affirming the consequence, yeah, that bullshit, affirming the consequence about whatever you want, shadows, eclipse, atmospheric gradient, and there's one other thing that you tried to escape, and I can't remember what it is. Oh yeah. Did we cover this? Yeah, you don't know how far away something is. It's local. So we're done. Thank you. Bye.
All right, thank you very much, guys, for the debate. Now I'm going to ask everybody to open up your mics and discuss whatever they were talking about in the debate. It is now a free-for-all, so I'm going to mute everybody's mic.
That was the most painful fucking monologuing of absolute nonsense I've ever heard anyone ever speak in my entire life.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
This is where you shut up, dude.
Like,
bro, you said a whole lot of nothing. You said a whole lot of nothing. You're a little kid. You're a young little kid. A little kid with a chip on his shoulder. Arrogant.
I got my ass kicked today, didn't I, guys?
You're just a young kid full of shit. You're so full of shit, right? You're a young kid and you're full of crap. That's what you are. You need to grow up.
These guys are
mature, actually respond to people what they're saying, and actually have a conversation. Stop talking over people and acting like a buffoon. You're a mess. You're an absolute mess.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's feeling good right now, guys. Thanks.
It's called constructive criticism. Flatten, you think Earth has a Coriolis? I challenge you to one-on-one debate. Earth doesn't have a Coriolis. You accept a decline.
We can do that one tomorrow.
All right. Well,
yeah, I can't sit through another debate with this.
Not with this guy. No more 1v1 with this guy.
Later.
Someone
else.
All
right.
No.
Nate, you met your match, buddy.
Everyone's done with you.
It's not about matches.
It is. Here's the problem.
Although I do need
no one cares. No one cares. No one cares. You're not teaching nobody in here. Nothing. You literally just said a whole lot of nothing. You don't say. You got nothing to bring to the table. You got nothing to teach us. You talk absolute waffle. You're not smart.
I think Mike,
you're an idiot.
Yeah, hang on, Reeds. I think Mike wanted to come in with something. Mike, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
I'm good. Go ahead, Mickey. These guys have been waiting. They've probably been listening to it longer than me.
Yeah.
Ahead,
Some are just, they got to get it out. Reasons. Go ahead.
Yeah, just you know what? Look, don't go wrong. We did give him the chance to talk about stuff. But all he wants to do is just act like he's smart, be a little cocky little shit, and he's not really trying to find out the truth. He's just trying to literally twist everything Nathan was saying. Nathan was speaking slowly because you were speaking so fast. You weren't listening to the point, so you just want to patronise him for talking slow. He's talking slow because he's really thought of what he's saying, and he's being very careful. He's saying, you made a big deal about local. I understand that you want to know what the parameters of local is, but they're not making any claims to the distance to the sun, because what we are doing, we're telling you the claims that have already been made, 93 million miles, it can't be true. So what we're being told is we're being lied to. That's what we're pointing out. What it actually is, yes, we've got yet to work it out, but with the people that are making the claims are Globers. Globers are telling us it's 93 million miles away. We don't believe that. Do you understand the difference? The burden of proof is on you because you're the one making the claims. We are yet to work out what the reality we're living in. So you got to stop sitting there and going, tell me the local, tell me local. You're the one remember, you're defending the globe. The globe has already clarified its distances.
That was a monologue. You get that?
You do a lot worse than that, man.
I was in the debate. I'm supposed to provide my point. Okay, I don't need to take that long to make a single point. Okay. So here's the thing: you can't say
you're talking to than you do addressing what they say.
You guys mute me one more time, and I haven't had enough chance to make a point. I'm gonna leave. And
hey, you can leave whenever you want, dude.
I know that.